The third type of stove we're going to talk about tonight is a stove that uses liquid fuel as its fuel. Liquid fuel can be white gas, Coleman fuel is what most people call it, or kerosene, diesel, gasoline, or alcohol. Any type of fuel that you store as a liquid. There are several different types of liquid stoves that we're going to talk about. The first is kind of one of the classic styles, and that is this, and it's a type of stove that the fuel canister is actually attached to the stove. You fill it by unscrewing the port, pour the fuel in there, close it up, you pump it until pressure makes the liquid fuel come out of there. It comes through this pipe and into the main body where it starts to burn. Or, you light it with a match and it starts to burn. The drawback for this is the fuel coming out of here is a liquid, and that means that it takes a little while to prime and light your stove. You have to actually heat up this section of tube called the generator before it will start vaporizing the liquid and making it burn efficiently. And so it takes a little bit longer to make this happen. One thing that makes it a very good stove is it works in all temperatures, it works in all conditions, and there's not a lot to go wrong with them. Not too many moving parts, and so they have a tendency to be very strong and very stable. One of the problems that they ran into with having the stove directly attached to the fuel canister, though, is if you have one seal start to go bad, fuel can actually spill down on the canister, and that can cause a little bit of problem when your whole stove catches fire. And so recently they've started making a lot of stoves that are what we call a remote fuel stove. So the fuel is actually stored in this bottle that is easily detached from the stove. And that keeps the heat away from the fuel, so it's a much safer sort of a fire. This has the same drawbacks as this stove, however, in that it has to be primed in order to make it work efficiently. The last type of stove we're going to talk about is one that uses alcohol as its primary fuel. The beautiful thing about alcohol stoves is there are no moving parts at all. They're very inexpensive and they're very, very simple and easy to use. It's literally just a cup. You pour the alcohol into the center, you light it on fire, and as the alcohol heats up inside of here, then it starts boiling the alcohol inside of the stove, which makes it come out of these tiny little ports on the sides. You set the pot on top, and the alcohol heats up your water or whatever you're cooking. The problem with alcohol stoves is they are very wind sensitive, and they're very oxygen sensitive, so that if you put a wind barrier down, if you put it too close to the pot, then the alcohol doesn't burn efficiently, and it takes forever, just about, to get your water to boil. If you put your wind barrier too far away from your pot, then too much wind gets in and it blows the heat away. It's a very soft heat. But it is very inexpensive and very easy to use. As a matter of fact, one of the more popular styles of stove is one that you can make yourself literally for the price of a beer. This is what we call, some people call them white box stoves, some people call them aluminum bottle stoves, but it's very simple. It's one aluminum beer bottle. They also have Pepsi and other products that are served in these aluminum bottles. And it's very efficient, and it works in the same way that this Vargo stove does. So just to recap the pluses and minuses for the three different primary types of stoves, those being wood-burning stoves, isobutane stoves, and liquid fuel stoves. Pluses are very inexpensive, no moving parts, very easy to use, lights almost instantaneously and has very high heat, and these are very robust and you can find fuel for them almost everywhere, and they work in all weather conditions. Some of the drawbacks to each of these types of stoves: wood stoves don't like it when it's raining because you have to find dry wood. Isobutane stoves don't like cold weather, and the heat tends to be very concentrated so that it will burn anything other than boiling water. And liquid fuel stoves are a little messier, and they take a lot longer to get lit and get burning efficiently.